Today on the Surviving the Human Experience podcast, we're going to take a journey with our guest, Wendy Mackenzie, to explore herbalism and the wisdom of plants. So before we jump in, I'd like to share more about who Wendy is with our listeners. I always like to give a little bio for our guests. Wendy is the co-owner and founder of Everlasting Herb Farm, where Meadow Bee skincare is created in Peacham, Vermont. Having taught family and consumer science to middle and high schoolers for many years, Wendy fell in love with the idea of using plants for better health after an herbalist came into her classroom as a guest speaker in 1997. Enchanted by sweet-smelling vials of essential oils and colorful jars of dried herbs, Wendy began studying herbalism with Isabel Hatley, her classroom guest speaker, in a cute little log cabin in southern Vermont. Wendy soon became an intern at Zach Wood's Herb Farm in Morrisville, Vermont, learning valuable herbal skills and plant information from herb farmers, Jeff and Melanie Carpenter. Eventually, Wendy became a longtime student of the renowned herbalist and fairy godmother of modern herbalism, Rosemary Gladstar, at Sage Mountain in Orange, Vermont. Everlasting Herb Farm was started in 2003 as a side hustle while raising her three small children. In 2012, Wendy started formulating, manufacturing, and white labeling body care products for the Vermont Country Store. And in 2018, she was able to leave her teaching career to work at Everlasting Herb Farm full-time. Her husband and business partner, Matthew Langham, built a backyard studio to resemble a barn and fit into the neighborhood to expand their growing business that has overtaken their entire house. I love that. It starts out that way. It always does. It's like you got a whole manufacturing setup in there. In 2020, Wendy became an online student of Formula Botanica in London. It was at this time that she was asked by a local woman for help because she had suffered a stroke and needed a natural deodorant that could be applied with her fingers. It took 2 years to perfect, but Meadow Bee deodorant, a natural plant-based formulation, was created. Wendy currently fills wholesale orders and runs her online business when she's not spending time with her adult children, granddaughters, and husband in a quiet country town off the beaten path in Peacham, Vermont. So welcome to the show, Wendy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Kristen.
Oh, I'm so excited we found each other, and the way we connected was so awesome. And I know you're going to share an incredible wealth of information with our listeners today. You have an amazing story. I have a lot to cover, so we're going to scratch the surface today. And if we need to bring you back, we're going to bring you back and we'll go further into it. But let's start off with herbalism. So you're my first herbalist on the show. So I want our listeners to understand and learn a little bit more about what herbalism is and a little bit of history, if you could share that with us.
Sure, I can do that. But first, I just want to start out by saying I know there's a lot of natural deodorant doubters out there because natural deodorant has a really bad reputation for working and not working. And I was one of those people that wore natural deodorant that didn't work, but I formulated a deodorant that does work. So stay with me.
I love
We'll
it.
get there. This is your next new favorite deodorant. But
Woohoo!
herbalism is just the study of using plants for health and wellness. It's that simple. Every plant around us is useful in some ways, and you just have to know which plants you can use and which plants you should stay away from. So that's the whole study of herbalism. And herbalism goes back to prehistoric times, so 60,000 years. So it's been around a long time. And 80% of the world's population uses herbalism as their primary healthcare
Wow.
system. And just a little bit of a history here in the United States, why we don't, is in the early 1900s, the medical establishment and the herbalists, it was a little bit of a fight, and
Mhm.
herbalism was kind of pushed down. And in
Okay.
1930, herbalism was made with government regulations, was just really pushed out of the realm. But it's been brought back by amazing herbalists starting in the 1970s, 1980s, and it's in full force here in the United States now, which is really exciting.
I love it. And I love that you are leading the charge and you're showing people how and educating them on how they can incorporate it into their lifestyles. I think when something is new or people aren't quite certain, like you said, you need to know which plants are the good ones that you can use and which ones you need to stay away from. So it is all about the education. So that's where it's at. So you had the opportunity to study under so many skilled herbalists along your journey. What would you say were some of the most valuable insights that you gained along your way?
I think that there are really great herbal teachers near where you are. So if you're interested at all in herbalism, like look for the people that are near you, the schools that are near you, and then try to, or just learn from a person who loves and knows their plants pretty well. That's a good place to start, just to
Okay.
see if you're at all fascinated by plants. And I don't understand why anyone wouldn't be. So that's a little bit of a bias that I have because I find them so fascinating. And if you need to find an herbal school, Mountain Rose Herbs out in Oregon has an online listing of herb schools all around the country. So you can
Mm,
really do a little bit more in-depth study. And I think my biggest takeaway is you can make your own formulations. I wish I had gone off script earlier. I wish I had been bolder, braver. But some of the best herbal things that I've created are because I took what I knew and I just went a whole lot further with plants that intrigued me and situations and things that I was trying to formulate for. And again, I'm going to own up to a lot of biases in this talk, but
yes.
Rosemary Gladstar really is the fairy godmother of herbalism in the United States. She's world renowned and she's just amazing. And she just happens to live in Vermont. So I'm a little bit lucky. And the house that I bought happened to be 30 minutes door to door to Sage Mountain, where she lived and taught for a long time. She
Wow.
doesn't live at Sage Mountain anymore. It's a lovely botanical sanctuary, but she's not there. And she has an online course called The Science and Art of Herbalism. So if you can't find something local or you're trying to check it out, this one is just excellent. And she's taught a lot of the teachers who go on to have herbal schools.
Ooh,
So you're
I
kind of
love
starting at the
that.
top if you can just study with rosemary, but there's a lot of amazing herbalists.
Yeah, so you were just strategically and divinely placed in the right space. You didn't even know it. You were just a teacher walking through normal human life, and then all of a sudden, bam, the plant started talking to you.
Exactly. And there was the little vials of essential oil that just smelled so heavenly at a time when I had a new home, I had young children, and I wanted to make my house smell good. So at the time I was using all these these chemical packets of fragrances that you can get in cute little gift shops, but they were
Hmm.
horrible. And then when
Hmm.
I found out about essential oils, my whole life changed. And Isabel also had dried herbs that were just dried so beautifully. They were colorful rose petals in jars. And who couldn't be sucked in by that?
Right, I agree. And it's so interesting to see having gone back into like a mall and you walk in, the first thing they're hitting you with are all these perfumes. And I've transitioned over to essential oils too. So when I smell those, I'm like, toxins automatically. It just sends this signal to your brain of like, what is everybody doing? They're putting it on their clothes, their skin. And the more we get educated, that's all I can say. Ugh, okay, so I've got to ask you, do you have your favorite go-to plants? And if so, can you share a short list with us? Because we want to know.
Okay, cool. I have a couple of plants that I want to share, and I spent most of my life as a teacher. So I just want to make it really easy for people because I think easy is a great place to start. But I might be a little controversial and a little shocking when I say that my absolute favorite plants are the weedy ones and the
Okay.
invasive ones, actually. And right now I'm studying all about invasive plants. And there's
Okay.
a Vermont author called Timothy Scott, and he wrote a book called Invasive Plant Medicine. And it's amazing once you start finding out about how these plants are used, not only for like the medical constituents that they have and the conditions that they can help, but also how they're helping fight pollution, like water pollution and air pollution. And it's just a whole nother world that I just don't think a lot of people understand. Because right now,
Mhm.
especially in Vermont, there's like this war on Japanese knotweed, and there's always been a war on dandelion. But
Okay.
that's kind of, I don't think that's the right approach. And I'm in the middle of reading another book
Hmm.
that is called Beyond the War on Invasive Species. And it's just
Okay.
looking at them to see like what can they tell us about what's going on with the land they're growing in. Because sometimes they're just getting the land ready for other things to grow. And maybe in 20 years they won't be here, but they're just doing their job now. And if we just look a little further down the road, we might not, we don't ever need pesticides and herbicides. We don't need that. But that's what's being used in a lot of places. And it just seems so wrong that we just don't understand the beasts that we're trying to fight. So that's
You said a lot of
so that's my
important
loaded
things there.
controversial statement.
Yes. No, that's okay. I love your controversial statement. Having just moved down to an area where they live for pesticides, I'm traumatized. like, what are you guys doing? You're stressing me out. And I'm looking at all the toxins and I'm like, do people not realize what's going on here? And so I'm like, there's things like Wonderside, they're not, and I'm not endorsed by them, but there are other alternatives, that you can make your own. And the common response I have received when I bring up that conversation is that you don't understand the nature of the weeds down here. They don't die. You have to use these. And I'm like, maybe they're supposed to be here. Plants have intuition as well. Maybe they're supposed to be here for now and you just don't recognize it. Yet it's so humorous that I'm like, we have to coexist with the wildlife, but they're not incorporating the plants, the weeds. It's like they're completely negating that space. So it's interesting.
Yeah, we have Jerusalem artichoke, and
Okay.
it's a cute little flower late in the fall, and it just grows crazy. But it's
Mhm.
also called in the herbal world as gold in the ground. So like
Mm.
it's a food security thing. So I have a lot
Okay.
of it around me. I let it be where it is around me because I know that like if things get really bad and we need to eat, any time of the year I can go out and dig it up, and I'm not going to be a fan of it after eating it for 6 months. I'm sure I'm going to hate it, but it's something to eat that you could actually have, which so it's just a little bit comforting.
Yes, it is. And I think we've gotten so far away from understanding how what's in our land can serve us. We've gotten so used to, got to go to the grocery store to get the food. You've got to have, it's got to be a process, right? But if we were in a survival time, everything you have is right there. You just have to educate yourself and learn about it. So,
Exactly.
all
And just
right.
to elaborate more on that
Yeah.
question, I'm so sorry.
Yes,
So
please.
the plant that
No,
I
please
learned
do.
about first as a kid is plantain. And it
Okay.
seems so maybe mundane to be talking about it, but the cool thing about it is it's found everywhere around the world. And it's
Mm,
a lawn weed. So you don't have to go far to find it. It might grow up in the crack of a sidewalk. It's just a
okay.
really hardy little plant. And the leaves, so it's Plantago major is the broadleaf plantain, and they have fat little leaves. And there's
Okay.
also a Plantago lanceolata that has a thinner leaf. Both
Okay.
plants can be used the same way. And I have both plants here in Peacham, Vermont. So if it grows in
Mhm.
Vermont, it's going to grow wherever you are, guaranteed. It's going to be
Mhm.
there. And it's just an amazing first aid plant. And just a story. We went to a home goods store, a Home Depot, Lowe's to
Mhm.
get some materials to fix up our old farmhouse. Our pickup truck doesn't have air conditioning. We had the windows down on a hot day, and a bee flew in and it stung me. And some stings are just more painful than others. And this was killing me. It was right in
Mhm.
my thigh. And I just said to my husband, stop the truck, stop the truck. I jumped out right where I was. I found plantain and I just held the leaf against my thigh for the
Okay.
next 10 minutes home. And by the time we get home, it did not hurt anymore. So it's an
Wow.
amazing first aid plant. It's called Pulls It Out, is a common name for it. And
Okay.
this is just another cool story. I had a splinter in my finger
Mhm.
and I knew
Mhm.
plantain would pull it out. So 10 o'clock at night, I got a flashlight. I went to the step on the porch, and right below the step, I'm not exaggerating, was a plantain plant. It's that common. Picked a couple of leaves, wrapped it around my thumb with scotch tape. So nothing
Okay.
fancy.
Yeah.
And I went to bed. And the next morning, I didn't have the splinter, and that was what I expected. But this is what I didn't expect. My thumb was all it was all torn up. I had a million peeling layers in my thumb.
Mhm.
When I
Mhm.
woke up in the morning, it was all glued back together, which was not what I
Wow.
expected. As an herbalist, I believe in plants, but when you do stuff like that, it's so cool. And then the
Mhm.
next night, I taped a leaf the other way, and I had like a split fingertip, and that went away. So if people want to be convinced about the power of herbs, just start with plantain. It's right there. It's free. Use something that hasn't been sprayed with a pesticide or sorry,
Right.
herbicide,
Right.
and then start from there.
Oh my goodness. I'm learning so much. My sheet of paper over here is full of notes. I've got books to read. I've got plants to go play with. You're teaching me. Your teaching skills are showing here today in our conversation. Oh, so let's jump over to the wisdom of plants. So every day we have an opportunity to go outside, take in the fresh air, interact with plants. They can be seen outdoors, in gardens, in homes. They're everywhere. And I think oftentimes we take them for granted. So I want to go a little deeper into understanding the wisdom of plants with you. So along your journey, you spent countless hours learning about plants and their powerful properties and uses. What did you uncover along this journey, in addition to the examples you just shared?
Sure. Like plants, each plant, like, sometimes we say, oh, this plant is good for this one thing. When in
Mhm.
fact, it's like introducing Aunt Mary, who's probably an amazing artist, but she's also a great chef, a wonderful person. She's funny. She's got all these different talents. The plants are just like that. So it's not great of us to pigeonhole them, but it's
Mhm.
nice as a beginning herbalist to go like, okay, if I have this, I can try this. So that's just a
Okay.
nice way to start. But
Mhm.
plants are so much more than that. And just looking at a plant is healing. you don't
Mhm.
you don't have to be an herbalist. You don't have to. You just look at a plant you're walking by, look at a plant that's in a vase on the table, just look at it. It's so healing. That's why we give flowers when people are, when loved ones die or happy occasions. It's just, they're just so healing and wonderful. And then their scents, if you can, like the wisdom of plants, if you can just breathe in that scent of the plant,
Mhm.
it's usually so delightful, and it just will like reset you almost and kind of like
Okay.
take you to another place. So that's just a simple way. And then just eating vegetables is a way to interact with plants. And I understand as Americans, we could probably all do better at eating our vegetables. So that's just another great way to incorporate plants into your
Mhm.
life. And then in Vermont, we have a long winter, so you can't smell fresh plants, but you can get essential oils in little bottles. And if you
Mm.
were to get one essential oil, go with an organic lavender essential oil that you can get at Mountain Rose Herbs or any little shop around you, but get an organic one. And then you can just, it's a safe essential oil. You can put a little on your wrists. You don't have to dilute it. You can just inhale it right out of the bottle. If you get a burn, the
Mhm.
lavender oil is just, you just put the lavender oil directly on a burn and it's going to heal it. So those are just
Ooh.
some exciting, just the wisdom of the plants. And then I would say the plants that are around you, like study them and embrace them. In my front garden, I have goutweed,
Okay.
which isn't it's agapodium. It's not a gardener's dream to have. And I tried at one point to get rid of it and I couldn't. And I thought,
Mm.
okay, I know that this is here for a reason. I know I need to live with it. And what I do is I call it my living mulch. It's
Okay.
beautiful. It flowers. The pollinators love it. When it's in bloom, it's my garden hums with the
Okay.
sound of bees and pollinators. And I just call it my living. It's really pretty. It looks like lace. And
Mhm.
I've just embraced it.
Ooh, I
If you
like
can't find
that.
it, just take a different approach. So that's maybe the wisdom of plants and a little bit of my wisdom that I want to weave
Yes.
together. But
Yeah. What were some of your aha moments along or surprises along the way? Did you have any?
yeah. So in herb school, I heard that if you chopped off your arm with a chainsaw, you would benefit from having yarrow. So this is another really simple tip. Yarrow is a weed. It's mostly found in fields. You probably have seen it a million times. It's Achillea millefolium. It has
Okay.
leaves that have all these made of little leaves, so 1,000 leaves. So
Hmm.
it's amazing. And one day I was upstairs cleaning the bathroom, and we had a broken top to our toilet that we just placed behind the toilet and ignored. And I was
Uh-huh.
cleaning and I forgot about it. And I put my hand in really fast to clean. And when I pulled out my arm, my entire forearm was red with blood. I had
Ooh,
hit a broken shard of pottery. And I looked at the blood and I thought, okay, don't pass out was my first thought. And then my
right.
second thought was, you have three little kids to take care of. You cannot pass out. You're home alone with these three little kids. And the
Right.
next thing that happened is yarrow popped into my head from the
Mm.
backyard. And I just started saying to the kids, yarrow, go get me yarrow. And my kids are little, they knew what yarrow was. So they went out
Right.
and found the leaf. I made it out to the backyard and I'm not even kidding. I put a leaf over my fingertip that had been pierced by this really long shard. And
Uh-huh.
immediately the bleeding stopped. Immediately. And the leaf,
Wow.
which I thought would have been really rough and kind of painful against my skin,
Mhm.
didn't hurt at all. It was just soft. And
Wow.
I stayed there for half an hour and I kept putting the leaf on and taking it off, the same leaf,
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
just would bleed tons or not, depending on whether I had the leaf. So I was
Okay.
like really convinced. And then what I did is I thought, okay, you can't sit here all day.
Yep.
Some powdered yarrow in a jar, and I
Okay.
sprinkled some powdered yarrow into the cut. This was the
Hmm.
amazing thing. It stopped the bleeding, and I went to rinse it out later, and I couldn't rinse out the yarrow. And I thought, "Ooh, this is not
Ooh.
good. Like this can't
Uh-huh.
be good." And I'm glad it was my finger and not my husband's finger, because I don't know if he would have done as well. But it basically healed in 3 days without a scar and really quickly. And
Oh my
it
gosh.
was just amazing. So that was my big aha moment. So if people know where a plantain is and they can find it and identify it, and that would be a good activity, and people can find yarrow. You've got a really good first aid kit out in the yard. And one year for Christmas, I did give people little vials of powdered yarrow, just put in their purses or backpacks so that if they did have a situation, they could stop the
Yeah, I
bleeding.
love that. And that's such a like stocking stuffer idea.
That you can
People
make
are like,
yourself.
"Did
It's
you
so
get the
fun.
candy?" I'm like, "I didn't get the candy. I got the yarrow."
And
But
again, I'm not getting paid by Mountain Rose Herbs, but you can get the dried powdered yarrow from Mountain Rose Herbs. You can buy the little vials at dollar stores even, and you can just put a little label on it and give those. It's just a
wow.
life-saving thing because it's amazing how it works.
No, that's really powerful. I'm so glad you shared that. So for our listeners out there who may be wondering if they too can develop a fulfilling relationship with plants, maybe they have not had positive experiences in the past, they don't have the green thumb. What are a few actionable steps that they can take to repair or begin a relationship with plants?
Okay. My mom is a real plant expert, and she says that most people overwater their plants. So the best thing you
Mm.
can do is just resist the temptation to water. And then when you do water, they just need a little sip of water. They don't need to be drowned.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so go easy on the water. And just, you just want to start, I think buying an aloe plant or
Okay.
sharing someone else that has an aloe plant because they tend to like have parts that you can just repot. But
Yeah.
that's just a great way. Plus, you can use aloe if you have a burn in your home. So it's again another really first aid kind of convincing plant because if you can just get these basics down, the world is
Hmm.
your oyster. Like there's a lot of other amazing plants, but this is
Yes.
just basic.
I love that
So
you
I
said the
recommend that.
aloe. I love you said the aloe because that was me. I'm like, I don't know. Every time I get a plant, it lives for a few days and then it's gone. And one day my mom said, take the aloe plant. It's not going to die. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thing lasted forever. It was my
And just
repairing relationship.
exactly, and just ignore it. And then, like we live in Vermont, we have a couple of acres, so we that's not a problem here. But some people might not have a lot of space, so just maybe do a little planter of some annuals or a window box, and just start there because you're helping the pollinators, you're helping yourself. You're going to be looking at the beauty, smelling the beauty, and that's just another really good way. And if you have a local neighbor that has a beautiful garden, just go meet that neighbor.
Smart
Find your
idea.
botanical gardens. You know what I mean? You don't have to be the gardener. Just enjoy
Yes.
plants. Just stop for
Yes.
5 minutes.
I love it. Smart idea. I love it. So, what are some different ways we can connect with plants in a mutually beneficial way for both us and the plants?
I'm just
Yeah.
coming off of a retreat. I went away for the weekend to Heart Song Farm in Groveton, New Hampshire, which I
Okay.
highly recommend. It just they grow apples. They have amazing organic apples. You could just go there to buy apples. You could just go there to check out it's heaven on earth. It's just amazing. Gracie and Nancy are amazing herbalists. Um, so I just came back from this retreat there and we did an exercise where we just sat by the plants, which when you study plants, you get into plant communication and some people can actually communicate with plants. I'm not that great at it myself, but some people are whizzes at it and they can get messages from plants and that kind of thing. So I just sat out with a plant for 20 minutes. It was wood betony. I know nothing about it. There were a million bees, which is of interest to me because my company is named Meadow Bee and I like to
Right.
support bees. And I just was just amazed. And at one point, I just started humming because there was just this buzz. And I just
Mhm.
started humming because you can sing to plants. And I thought, well, I'm not a great singer, but I'll hum.
Yeah.
And then a hummingbird came to me and just flapped its wings for like 5 seconds right in front of me. And I thought, oh, this is amazing. So
Oh my
I just recommend, and I didn't get any great message from the plant, although I recognized that I had that plant in my back garden and I didn't know what it was. So that was kind of the message for me.
It
Because even though
was.
I love plants and know a lot about plants, I don't know all plants. There's actually a lot that I don't know. But
Uh-huh.
if you just sit by plants, start with 5 minutes, start with 20 minutes, and just see what happens. Notice the bees, notice whatever's happening, and just take
Mm-hmm.
that in. That's just a great way to interact. And then you can sing to them, you can hum, you could leave a strand of hair, you can spit. That's just a way to say thank you, even if you're not
Okay.
getting these great messages because you don't speak plant.
Yes, I love
It's
that.
just,
That's the new language that Rosetta Stone might come out with next. In biofield tuning, we use the tuning forks and you can tune the plants. And so you can really connect in. So I'm resonating with what you're saying, but just being with the plants and understanding their beauty is just so powerful. So powerful. All right, so next, plants have been used for centuries for medicinal properties in a world full of pharmaceuticals. what words of wisdom can you share with our listeners who may be considering exploring plant-based alternatives? Where should they start? And I know you shared some on first aid. Do you have any additional to add here?
I would just go to a reputable like herb supplier. Again, Mountain Rose Herbs is a big one because they just have every herb. There's, Zach Wood's farm here in Vermont is amazing. They have a lot of herbs too.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of really reputable herb places. If they're selling um organic things, you're going to be okay. Like look for that organic and just start there and start with what's nearby. I think a lot of
Okay.
people would be surprised with what's nearby where you are.
Right. Yeah, I can, even being in the Maryland area, I noticed we have the farms, and a lot of places will take you on foraging tours and they'll just kind of engage you and introduce you. So, if you go to these places that you're sharing, they're going to share their knowledge too. So I always tell people, don't be afraid to go in and ask questions. Everybody starts somewhere. We're always beginners at something. So better to ask the questions and learn than to just, completely avoid the opportunity of something that could be so beneficial for you. So, all
And
right,
I
let's
would
talk
just
about
say,
cautions. Oh, go ahead. Go
oh,
ahead.
I would just say, like coming off that weekend at Song Farm, you don't have
Hmm.
to like plants or know anything about plants. Just go there, and you will leave a different person. You will awaken something in you that you didn't know was there, and you'll get like some rest and relaxation, some really great food, some awesome people to connect to. I just highly recommend, like, if you're not even thinking that plants are on the radar, just try it and see what you think.
Yeah, and I love as you shared your story, it's like you're learning as you go. You don't have to know everything at once. There's so much out there to learn about, and each opportunity just gives you one more thing to add to the toolbox. We're lifelong learners, and as we grow and evolve, the plants may change where we are too. So even when you think you got it, there's going to be something else that pops up in your yard. You never know.
Yep.
Are there any cautions you can offer when it comes to identifying plant-based alternatives for personal use and in the home?
Yes, there are
Mhm.
plants that are deadly poisonous. You have to know what you're doing. So
Mm,
I work a lot with topical herbs and
okay.
I don't ingest a lot of herbs, but you have to know exactly what the plant is. And there's just some plant families that things look kind of similar and one
Hmm.
thing's deadly poisonous and another is not. So really, like, don't be eating anything or even using anything topically until you really know what it is. You do not want to be rubbing poison ivy on your skin.
Doesn't work out well
It's
at
not
all.
gonna go well. You don't want
No.
it. Yeah. So wild carrot and poison hemlock look a lot alike. They're in the same family. So that's
Okay.
that's where you just have to be really careful. So that's why if you work with a local herbalist or someone who really knows their plants, like start
Hmm.
there. Don't start with 500 plants. Start with one or two.
Right.
Go from there.
Yeah, make sure you know for sure. And go to somebody and make sure they've helped you identify it. If you're not quite there in the beginning, bring it in and say, I'm thinking this is
Yeah.
this. Is it? Because knowledge is power in this case. Yes, and the poison ivy example is a perfect one. We do not want poison ivy all over the body. Although then
And
there's
these
going to
apps,
be a plant to fix that too. So then you're gonna be like,
yeah,
well,
that's
that
called
mistake
jewelry.
happened. Okay,
And
excellent.
there are plant apps that,
Okay.
are probably pretty good, but they're not perfect. So again, don't just rely on a plant app. You
Okay.
could certainly start with a plant app, but then go to a person who really knows what they're doing or a really good
Mm,
resource and quadruple check.
excellent. Yes, I agree. I agree, especially when it's going in or on your body. Okay, so now we're going to switch over to Meadow Bee. And I know you're going to be excited about this because I know you're ready. So I've been researching Meadow Bee and was blown away by your product line. Not to mention you've received prestigious recognitions and awards from the Global Beauty Shortlist Wellbeing Awards, providing your products with global platform recognition. This is huge as you continue to grow and expand your product line. So you shared your story. We got your history at the beginning with herbalism and plants. With so many different uses for plants, what was your why behind starting Meadow Bee?
Sure. So Isabel came in, I took her course, I fell in love with plants. And then shortly after that, we moved to northern Vermont to be in Peacham. And in the front yard, we had a garden that went the whole length of our house, full of perennials. And at that time, I didn't really know much about plants. I knew a little bit, but not a lot. And that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of my wanting to jump into the plant world a little bit
Mhm.
more. Plus, I had been inspired by Isabel to learn about herbalism, and I had 3 little kids, and I was a
Okay.
stay-at-home mom at that point. I've always been a teacher, but I took maybe about 8 years off to be a stay-at-home mom, and that
Okay.
was really fun. But I just needed a little something to wrap my head around because I am a
Right.
lifelong student,
Right.
and it was just all about herbs. So I did internships, I read a lot of books, I did classes whenever I could, and that's my why to jump in. And then I had a friend who lived in this town who was very entrepreneurial, and she helped
Okay.
me start the business. So without her, I don't think I would have even thought to start a business, but it was my friend Mel's help.
Oh, I love it. So it was a natural progression. It started with curiosity and interest, and then something that was a passion became an opportunity to share with the world. That is fantastic. Those are the best businesses because there's a true passion and a why behind them versus just, I just want to make money. I was looking for a business that would do that. You actually had motivation and inspiration. I love it. So do you see yourself expanding the Meadow Bee product line to offer additional products and services to what you already offer?
This is the thing I've learned recently, maybe in the last 5 years, that I have too many products. So I've
Oh,
really worked on scaling back what I
okay.
offer. I'm a kind of person that has about 15 pair of shoes, including all my winter gear and summer gear and sandals. So like
Yes.
kind of a back to basics kind of person.
Uh-huh.
So like I have a facial care line, like a cleanser, a
Okay.
lotion, a serum. I have
Okay.
lip balm, and then I have some skin fixes, salves that,
Okay.
will help people. And then I
Mhm.
have the deodorant, and that's it. I'm not adding anything more. It doesn't sound all that exciting, but my exciting part is I'm going from about 50 products, maybe down to like 25.
Nice. I love that you recognize that though, because it is very easy to get in and then next thing you know, it's morphed into all these things and you're like, and trying to keep up with it and track and talking to the customer and figuring out their needs. And sometimes it's easy to streamline and make it simple, especially when you have products like yours that work and they're favorites and people love them. And so adding more can sometimes, cause confusion.
And this would be my advice to anybody thinking about starting a business. You don't need 75 products. You don't even need five. Start with one, two, or three and just go from there. Use one packaging kind, use one label, use one shipping box, and you're going to be so much happier.
Ooh, yes, streamlining the process, keeping it simple for you and the clients and or customers. So you've made it your business to keep Meadow Bee in-house and source all of your products and ingredients yourself so that you can maintain the integrity of your product line. A challenge that often presents, this is more businessy question, challenge that often presents as companies expand in the product producing industry is shifting from the in-house to mass production. As a business owner who prides herself on ethical standards, being environmentally conscious, all of those things, what do you think are the biggest challenges that would be faced going into that mass production model? And have you even
Yeah, that
considered going into mass production?
no, I have my sights set on really big things, but I have like I'm just always been a different kind of person. I have my own way forward that I can see going forward. And for
Sure.
me and my company of Meadow Bee, it's all about the environment. Like the
Mm,
customer is very important too, but I make the decisions based on the environment. So I'm trying to move away from blue glass jars that can't be recycled and black
okay.
plastic tops that can't be recycled. So I'm switching.
Right.
I didn't know all of this until I took a course called through Formula Botanica in London, which is a
Okay.
skincare formulation class. And
Uh-huh.
Europe, I think of Vermont as being so far ahead. We're so green here in Vermont, but we're not compared to Europe. And so, having been a student and currently a student in that school, Europe is just farther ahead of us. They have things that I can't get here in the United States that they use for
Okay.
plastic for packaging. They use like sugarcane packaging and some really cool things. Mushroom packaging more so, and that's just not readily available or even economical for me right now.
Hmm.
But I'm
Hmm.
constantly looking to like what's the next best container that I can use, and like
Right.
how can I switch over. The customer is very important, but I try to balance what they need with what the environment really needs, and that's just
Mm.
far less plastic. I still do have plastic. I haven't gotten away from it completely, but I'm working really hard on that.
I
So
love
that's
it.
kind of
I
cool.
have
And
not heard that answer before from anybody. The fact that you're placing the environment first is a whole different level, and I love it. I
just
absolutely
one
love
more
it.
thing to to follow up, my
Yeah.
vision of expanding is I hand pour right now every single product that comes out of my business. I am it. I answer all the emails and I pour all the products. But I have a vision of hiring people who live locally to come in and do the same, and just a really great wage and just a bigger
Yes.
space, because it and just we could really, that's how I would mass produce. I would
Hmm.
put people first, and then and hire really great people and just get it done that way. I know that, I know sometimes to be a zillion business, you need to like have machinery, but it would just be so much fun to see if I could get around that.
Yeah, I think you can. I think you've got the vision, and I believe it's going to happen. So we're going to put it out there so that it does. That's how you do it. I love it. All right. So Meadow Bee initially began as a side hustle. You did share that. It was an opportunity to provide additional income for your household. It was a passion that became, a hobby that became a passion that became a hobby, both ways. And your story provides inspiration to others who may be contemplating pursuing their dreams. What words of wisdom can you share with our listeners who may be in this space?
Sure, 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 sure. First of all, I would say keep your day job. Keep the healthcare benefit or whatever you have, like keep that extra money that you have coming in. And
Mhm.
then solve a problem that you or somebody that you're close to has. Like
Mhm.
make your product really mean something and be different. Like people could come up with another salve in the world, but we have a lot of salves. But right now in the herbal world, we don't really have an insect repellent that lasts a long time and works really effectively. Like that would be a stellar product for someone to come up with. Or,
Mm.
but whatever it is you're thinking, like there's a million problems to solve.
Yeah.
And then once you think you have something that's good, get feedback from others. As painful as that is going to be, ask complete strangers, not your mother, not your sister. They're not going to be all that honest with you. But
Right.
ask complete strangers and have the
Mm.
guts to, and have them test it and see what they think. It took me 2 years to perfect the natural deodorant that we have. And
Okay.
halfway through, my husband stopped wearing it because he said it doesn't work. And I'm like, it's working for me. But he said it's not working for me. So I had to go back to the drawing board and just make it even better, which we did. But that's just an
Hmm.
example of that. So sometimes you get the painful feedback, but that's
Right.
part of making a great product. Um,
Yes.
and then start where you are. Like you don't, like we started at this very table, this very dining room where I'm sitting right now
Hmm.
talking to you. And,
Sure.
the whole house became unmanageable really because we had boxes in the entry room. We had our store end room was just all ingredients.
Hmm.
So then we single-handedly built a barn in the backyard. So my husband over 2 years built that. And it's just a beautiful, lovely space where I get to work. But like
Yeah.
start with what you have. Like you don't need that big facility right now. Start small, start inexpensively. It's not glamorous at the beginning. So that would be my advice. And then
Yeah.
another thing is there's a program called How I Built This
Okay.
by Guy Raz, and his last
Okay.
name is R-A-Z. And he's amazing. You can subscribe, you can listen for free. He has a newsletter. I highly recommend that you subscribe to that. And it's fascinating to listen to businesses. And there's some really exciting stories. Mine isn't one of the exciting stories. I've been at this a while and I'm not making millions, but there are some stories that are really exciting.
Ooh, I love it. Okay. Well, we all need to check that out for those of you who are in the space of considering entrepreneurship and just not reinventing the wheel. Definitely. I'm glad that you shared that. You're full of resources. This is wonderful. All right. Next topic. We're going to talk about something that's near and dear to you, respecting our environment. Your work on the farm and your Meadow Bee reflects your strong commitment to preserving environment and supporting the ecosystem. I was very impressed by the importance that you've placed on respecting all aspects of the ecosystem while still honoring the needs of your clients. Your approach to putting out shallow water dishes with pebbles and branches for butterflies and bees, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, my heart just skipped a beat on this one. It shows that you're committed to respecting and coexisting with nature. So I'm sure you can share many ways, but what are 3 ways that our listeners can support the environment and become and continue to be good stewards of the earth?
Sure, one of them you took. So the shallow dishes, I feed it. I think I'm feeding my cat. I'm feeding my dog. I'm feeding the pollinators. So I just go out and put fresh water out every day. It's just kind of a nice little ritual. I have a couple of spots, and then if you just put something really like a branch, a little twig, or some pebbles for them to land
Okay.
on so they don't drown, and it's just
Okay.
shallow water dishes. But you don't want mosquitoes to breed, so change it every day.
Okay. Good. Good point.
And then My next tip might make you happy. It's mow less. You don't have to mow every blade of grass that is in your yard. It's
Mm.
better to leave some of your yard unmowed. If you come to my house, I have a meadow in the back, and we don't mow the whole thing. We just mow paths. We make it so that we can get around to where we want to go. But there's just a lot of wonderful wildflowers that grow, and those are helping all the pollinators, helping wildlife. And so that just feels really good. So you get more hammock time if you mow less. So buy a
Ooh,
hammock, mow less.
I love it. I feel like some of our listeners just got really excited when they heard that one.
The next thing really is to embrace what's growing around you. It's like
Mm.
switch your attitude, like find out about it. Like you could just Google some stuff. People were just complaining about wild chervil that grows all around the roads in Vermont. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
invasive plant. And I did some research, and on PubMed I found that it contains a cancer fighting chemical. So like what's not to hate about that? Plus, it's
Right.
growing along the roadsides. It's probably filtering water. It's probably absorbing the pollution from the vehicles. Like
Yes.
it's just amazing. So just think, oh, why is that here? Just embrace it and just find out more.
Yes.
Those are
So
my three.
interesting that we tend to look at oh, I need it gone. I just need to see clear space. And we're not even realizing the importance and the value of what is right there in front of us. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, in a world where chemicals and toxins are rampant, because they are, stresses me out every time I look at it. What recommendations and solutions can you offer to our listeners who are seeking alternatives to harsh chemicals and pesticides to treat their yards and living areas?
Yeah, I would just say avoid chemicals and pesticides like all at all costs. Like avoid, avoid, avoid. It's better to not do that and just let things grow naturally. And then if things have been not treated for a while, like you can eat them. So if dandelion is getting you down, eat them. They're really good for you. And probably all these other plants that are annoying you, like find out about them and eat them. But then
Mm.
also like use compost. Compost is just a great thing. If plants can't move, so trees are kind of where they are, just give them a little compost, like help things grow that way. And that's just a natural way to get some nutrients back into the ground without hurting fellow, future generations and possibly yourself and the little kids that are running around. It's just,
Yeah.
and then all the pesticides that we're using are just so bad. Like we're killing our pollinators and we need them. So
Hmm.
honeybees make honey, but
Hmm.
it's the solitary pollinators that make our food. So they make 1/3 of every bite that we eat of our food. And without them, our diet's just not as varied. We don't have such a great um, choice when we
Hmm.
sit down to eat. And so if we can just support those little guys and help them out, they're really helping us out a lot more.
Wow. And something you said too is make sure that it hasn't been treated before you eat it, right? So if you are in a new space and you are just moving into a home or, came across somebody else's property, find out if they've been treating their yard and how long has it been since they haven't, so that you're not ingesting that. So that was a really good
Yeah.
point that I wanted to share. Yeah, because I mean there's so much in our yards and our supply right now. It's ridiculous. Okay, so for our listeners who may be interested in learning more about herbalism, you did share along the way, but I'd love to have you reiterate some of the resources. But for those who are interested in learning more about herbalism, incorporating plants in their lifestyle, what recommendations do you have for us? Can you give us that list again that you shared throughout the show?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, I have them all highlighted. The one I just
wonderful.
forgot to mention is called Pollinator Pathways. And
Okay.
go to their website. It's fabulous. You don't have to pay to be part of Pollinator Pathways, but you can pay to have a little sign. If you do not use chemicals in your yard and they are really all about native plants. I'm
Mhm.
more about whatever happens to grow around you, just let it grow naturally without the chemicals. But you can get a pollinator pathway sign to put up and just be part of their network. And then they have a map, which is really cool. So you can see all around the United States where it's a safe zone for pollinators, which is kind of cool. And that's just free to do. And the signs are
Yeah,
really cute. So you might want a $10 or $20 sign. They're just really kind of cute. And
I love
then
it.
finding herbal classes, go to Mountain Rose Herbs. They're a great place just if you want to get lavender essential oil, you want to buy some dried herbs. You don't need 7 pounds of anything. Start with 4 ounces if you're starting with herbs. And find out they have a listing of all the herbal schools, a lot of good herbal schools. in the country and see what's around you. And then really, I just came from Heart Song Farm. It's magical. There are people there that were there for the first time. I've been there about 700 times. And it
Oh,
was fun to watch their whole world just explode. And they were just so happy and to the point of tears. They were like so grateful. So if you need to get away from wherever you are, it's about 3 hours away from Boston. I don't know where people are. A woman flew in from Wisconsin. It's certainly accessible. I highly recommend Heart Song Farm.
very
And Rosemary
nice.
Gladstar's online Science and Art of Herbalism correspondence course. If you're not near a local herbalist, it's fantastic.
Perfect. All right, Wendy, we're starting to conclude. So if you could leave the world with one message, what would it be? Your message to the world.
Oh, my message to the world. Wow, wow,
Yeah,
wow, wow.
yeah.
It's really good to think about the environment more than we're used to thinking about the environment.
Mhm.
And just really putting that first, because a lot of the plastic containers we're using last for 400 years. And some of these plastic things we're using, we use for 30 seconds or maybe 30 minutes, and we're not really
Mhm.
using just to think about that. And just if I could just do a little plug, I
Yes.
in the world and just being different, I
Mhm.
made a natural deodorant that is plastic free, which is just really exciting because this woman couldn't use a plastic applicator. So that was just a great thing, a great problem that we had to overcome. And she
Yeah.
asked for a cream, and I'll show you this. This is a cream. But it doesn't have any water, so it doesn't need a preservative. So you're not sticking a preservative in your armpit, which is kind of cool. And this is,
Yes.
I'm an herbalist. It's all made from plants. It's 8 plants. It has a base of organic mango butter and organic tapioca starch, and then some deodorizing ingredients that come from the castor plant and different
Okay.
plants. And then it's hardened with rice bran wax. And then you just put
Wow.
your finger in this, you get a little
Uh,
smidge, and you rub it into your armpit, which is like a little mini massage in the
Okay.
morning, which is cool, which is really kind of fun. And then because I had a friend who couldn't touch her armpit, I made these
Mhm.
cute little bee bars. So this is a solid bar. Again, no plastic, comes in a
Uh-huh.
metal container. And you
Uh-huh.
just hold it at the top, dry off really well, and just rub it against your armpit,
Ooh,
which is kind of cool. And
neat.
just to promote Vermont a little bit more, this piece of fabric that's in there is
Uh-huh.
organic flannel from Vermont Flannel. They give me their waste fabric to put in the tin to cushion the bars and shipping, but that you can also use to hold the deodorant if you don't like to touch it. So
Ooh,
it's
I
just kind of
love
cool. And
this.
it's gonna work all day. It doesn't hurt sensitive skin. There's no baking soda that irritates skin. It doesn't leave
Okay.
a white mark on your black shirt.
That's
And
very
it's just
important.
and just one other thing, just to get like a little bit deep
Yes.
into the weeds, you can like in hot, humid days, if you're a larger chested woman,
Hmm.
you can get boob sweat or under boob is what people call
Yes.
it, or humidity is
Yes.
what even people call it, which is kind of,
Yes.
but you can swipe on the Meadow Bee before you put your bra on, and you don't have that experience, which turns
Ooh.
out to be a very painful thing.
Yeah.
And I did not know that until a customer pointed out to me, and I thought, oh, that's
Uh-huh.
great. So
You're
I've been
like, wow,
doing it,
what
and
a
it's been
topic.
magic.
Multifunctional. I love this. Yeah, like who would have thought? No, that's so wonderful to know. And I'm glad you shared that it lasts all day because a lot of people will ask that question. Well, how long is it going to last? Do I need to reapply it throughout the day? Um, it'll last the full day.
And actually, I just went camping for 2 nights in Vermont. It was
Okay.
really cold. It got down into the
Uh-huh.
50s, so I didn't take a shower the next day. And it was 2 days before I shower, and it was normal. I normally take a shower every day. The
Yep.
deodorant lasted the entire weekend, which I've
Wow.
heard. I've heard I'm just a shower a day kind
Yes.
of person. So
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, but you tested the theory and it worked. So that's a good thing. We love that. Yeah, that feedback is always helpful. Okay, so share with our listeners, where can they get in touch with you if they want to connect, just to have conversation, if they want to work with you, or if they want to get your products?
Sure, 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 sure. Meadowbee.net is my website, and on
Okay.
that you'll find my email. We originally called our business Everlasting Herb Farm, which we
Okay.
consider the place where we make Meadow Bee. So
Mm-hmm.
my email is wendy@everlastingherbfarm.com, but it's
Okay.
all found at meadowbee.net.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners before we conclude our episode? It's your time. If there's anything else you want to add, last minute thoughts.
would just say if you're at all intrigued by plants, just go with it. Like, just find out. You don't have to be an herbalist. It doesn't have to be something that you are, but you could just be someone who knows maybe about one plant. You might be able to come up with 20 uses for one plant, and you're going to be a really skilled plant person if you can do that.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today. You've shared so much with us. I certainly got an education. I have some books to read, some websites to check out, a newsletter to sign up for. So I am grateful and thankful for all of your wisdom you shared. And for our listeners, thank you so much for taking this time to listen to this episode of the Surviving the Human Experience podcast. And until next time, be well and stay blessed.